They're unsaved, so I have a right not to speak to them. They're sinners. Why are they popping up into space? Now, this is what's going to happen. Your act can keep you in your seat where you can outsmart your act and win over it. You've been given an act since you was about 2 years old. Your act was born. The moment you learned how to walk and talk, you learned how to act. And your act kicks in when you experience an embarrassing moment. And your act starts speaking. Your act gets louder and louder. I know, because as a preacher, I had to put on an act. I put on an act as a prophet for years until I said, let me get real with who I am and discover that it was in that space I was able to have forgiveness. There was a man of God I was disturbed with. Apostle, I was really disturbed with him. And I started hanging out in the space one day. And I said, I really did this man an injustice because he reached for me and I ignored him because I felt like he deserved me ignoring him. Even to the point that I started ignoring his phone call. And it popped up and I said, I have to ask your forgiveness. He said, for what? I said, you were reaching out for me at a time that you really needed me, but I talked to you for years, and at the moment you reached out, you really took action that time. I was not there for you. I had given up my stand for you. He said, Bishop, it's okay. I said, no, it's not okay. I need you to stay with me here for just a moment and acknowledge my wrong. And I need the space to be clear between you and I to make it right. I began to call my sister. My sister got divorced and remarried again. And I felt like she had no right to get remarried. I felt like the way she did her divorce wasn't right. And so I didn't show up for her wedding because I'm right and you're wrong. And I called him in the middle of the night. I said, sis, can I speak? And for the first time I said, my brother-in-law. I said, I need to ask your forgiveness. He said, for what? I said, I did not come to your wedding. I didn't accept you as a brother-in-law. I did not invite you to my house because I felt like your marriage was not right. And I was wrong because I was self-righteous. And this is what I said, and I was a real asshole. Okay, see how they got a rise out of you? You guys see that? I had to own it. I couldn't sit there and justify and explain. Because when you're explaining it, you're not asking for forgiveness. You're pleading your cause and justifying. That's like that woman that you gave me. I said I was a real butthole. And he said these words. He says, you know, I had resolved in myself that you would never come around and we would just have to live with it. No, we don't have to just live with it. We can keep bringing it up in a conversation. And start with, and I'm telling you, you're not going nowhere. And after that, it opened up a space. I found myself praying. I got clear. But when it showed up, I said, oh, they shouldn't have got married anyway. Oh, they shouldn't have. Oh, they shouldn't have. And I said, stop it. I said, that's their lives. Who are you? Change me. I love everyone now. You come to my church. I got to run Sunday. I says, everyone's welcome to the church. It says, we're accepting gay, straight, bi, whatever you are, come in. We're going to love you because this is what Jesus would do. A couple of people says, Bishop, what are you doing? I says, we're receiving the lepers in this church. And I'm not saying they have leprosy, but we're making a space for the untouchable. But see, you can't do that when you're self-righteous. You can only do that when you're a space. I had a mother come to me as a prophetess. She says, I said, how's your daughter doing? She says, I've stopped speaking to her. I said, why? I said, she stopped speaking to you? No. I stopped speaking to her. I said, why? Because she'd gotten into the life. What life? She's a lesbian. I said, you stopped speaking to your daughter because she's a lesbian? I said, your daughter needs you now more than she's ever needed you before. Bishop, she's a lesbian. I said, isn't that wonderful? Why don't you hang out with that for a moment and get closer to your daughter? I called her the other day. I said, how's your relationship with your daughter? She says, it's going great. We're speaking to each other. We're talking. I says, isn't that less stressed than you coming to me talking about, let's pray for my daughter? No, why don't you just be a mother? See, I know some of you are uncomfortable with this. You need to stand up in this space because this is the way you live your lives. This is why the world says, I can't trust a church. Wow. Because if I come into this place, I got to put on an act. I can't be who I am. And Jesus says, come as you are. Come unto me, all ye that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you what?
Rest.
Rest. Thank you for standing. Wow. So now, y'all have stood up in this space. That means you got some homework to do. You got to make one of those phone calls. And the person may say, you know, I don't even remember. Says, well, can you allow me the space to get clear with you? And some may say, I don't even want to talk with you. I say, it's okay, but you're listening to me now. I want it on the record, and I'm getting clear. It's going to change your money. Because what you're doing, you're clearing a blockage. It changes who you are. And now you get to live as an authentic being. Instead of walking through life with a mask and putting on an act. Now that act is tiring. That act is what? Tiring. This is great. Now we have about 8 people standing. This is great. And what's powerful about this is that 8 of you are going to be so powerful in the world of possibility. Watch what opens up with relationship when you become a channel for love. Say with me, I am a channel for love. Now, I used to get into a thing and pray for you, have you come to an altar. You don't need an altar call. Even if we made an altar call, Jesus would say, leave your gift. I don't even want to talk with you. Wow. I'll meet you at the place called reconciliation. Isn't that powerful? Now, will you have fallouts? Yes. But you know what's good about it? You can begin to take somebody's hand and say, I need to just get clear with you for a moment. I really have a problem with something you've done. And I need to talk about this problem I've had. We had recently a situation in the church with a brother. And I'm going to say this, just remain standing, give me about 2 more minutes with this story. And the brother